I'm Justin Mott and welcome to my home in Hanoi, Vietnam, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite focal length of all time. Is it the Nifty 50? Nope, it's not the Nifty 50, even though that has the coolest name. It's the 35, the 30, I'm alive, 30. 35 doesn't have like a cool name, it needs like a PR makeover. I'll work on that, I'll talk to my people. But I'm going to talk about the 35mm, why I like that focal length, and more specifically I'm going to go into my favorite 35mm lens. So would that be this one? Or is it perhaps what's inside here? You don't know. Stay tuned to find out. Before I reveal my favorite 35mm lens, you probably already know if you actually read the title, which is probably why you clicked on this, so you do know anyway. So anyway, before I reveal that, I'm gonna tell you why I like the 35 as a focal length, why it's my favorite, Now I do use other focal lengths, but 35mm has always been my favorite from the start of my career up until right now. So the first year of my professional career, I was living in Cambodia, and then shortly after that, I was living in Vietnam. And I did a bunch of assignments for the New York Times and other publications, but most of my work was for the New York Times. I was flying all over Southeast Asia doing different assignments. For all of those assignments, I shot everything with a 35mm lens, and that's it. I was light, I was agile, it made me move more, it made me work more. So I was using my 35 for my projects and I was using it for all my assignments. So that was my start with a 35mm. That's where I fell in love with that focal length. And that's really where my style as a photographer was born, was using that 35mm focal length and the way it made me move and the way it made me think. So why a 35? Why not a 24? Why not a 28? Why not a 50? Those lenses do have their advantages, but if I'm just saying what's my favorite lens, the 35mm is my favorite lens because of its versatility. So I do everything I need to do as a photographer with a 35mm. So I can do portraits, I can do street photography, I can do documentary photography, I can do travel photography, I can really do everything I need to do as a photographer with a 35mm. Some people say, well, yeah, but you can't really do portraits with it, can you? I love doing portraits with a 35mm. You might say, well, yeah, how do you shoot with a 35mm doing a portrait? Because you have to shoot vertical, right? No. Guess what? I don't shoot vertical portraits. I shoot horizontal portraits. That's right. Most of my portraits are shot horizontally. You can't stop me. I actually like horizontal portraits. I don't mind a wide portrait, and you can actually get close with a 35 without a lot of distortion. So whether I want to get close or I want to pull back, I like to shoot horizontal portraits, and I actually do shoot most of my portraits with a 35mm. So the reason I love a 35, the reason the 35 focal length is my favorite focal length is because of its versatility. Now to reveal my favorite 35, which you already know already, because I already ruined that, and I kind of messed up that big reveal. That wasn't really going to be that special, but my favorite lens, my favorite 35mm, my favorite lens of all time. And I've been using this lens for over a year now. I've been taking it all around the world with me. This lens has been to Vietnam. It has been, I'm not going to list all of them. It's just been to a bunch of different places. You're just going to have to trust me. So this is it. What a weird lens. It's made of leather. No, it's not made of leather. That's just the cool case there. So what is it? Out of focus? You can't tell, huh? Okay, so this is my favorite lens, and the big reveal is, this is the Leica 35mm 1.4 aspherical SUMMILUX lens. It cost about $5,900, so that seems a little bit insane, doesn't it? But look at the size of it. And guess what? No autofocus, all manual focus. Can you believe it? So almost $6,000 for a lens without autofocus. Is that silly? Well, for me, no. I love this lens for a lot of different reasons. First of all, because of its size. Now, it's not really fair to compare this to another 35mm that has autofocus, but just so you can see the difference and why I like it, this is the Canon 35 1.4 L series lens. It is a fantastic lens and it is a fraction of the price, but look at fair because this is an autofocus lens and this is only purely manual. Second reason I love this lens is the build quality. This lens is made out of metal. This lens here is made out of plastic. I don't like plastic things. It has a rubber, it's made of rubber and plastic. I just don't like the way that feels in my hand. That kind of stuff, if you've known me, if you've been following my YouTube channel, you know that I care about aesthetic, you know I care about build quality. The thing is dense, it's heavy, and it's made out of metal. Great craftsmanship, beautiful lens. even just all those little details in there. Aperture ring built into the system. I like operating like that. It feels like I'm doing something. I really like that. I like operating my aperture on my lens, so I really, really dig this lens. So you've got size, you've got build quality, you also have value. You might say almost $6,000. What do you get value out of that? These lenses hold their value for years. In some cases, the price actually goes up on these lenses. Isn't that insane? But I could sell this 35 1.4 in a few years and probably get almost the same amount of money as long as I don't scratch it up too much, which I probably will, because I actually do use my camera equipment quite a bit. You can sell this lens in a few years and it will retain its value because there's no technology in here really. I mean, a little bit, but it's mechanical. Really, like, it's gonna hold its value unless you really, really ruin the lens. Talking about design, you can just see the way it feels in your hands. It sort of, you know, fits really nicely with the Leica M. I love the way it kind of feels. I love the way it focuses. I love, you know, just the way it operates. This little bit here, the way you put your finger on here and the way you focus manually is quite nice as well. I just love this little bit here. Everything, the way that this lens works. It's so mechanical, it's so beautiful, it just feels so great in your hand. That kind of stuff is important to me, but that is not the main reason. So I do love the build quality, I do love the size of this lens, I don't like the price of this lens, but at the same time, I don't mind the value of it, because I know if I need to sell it or if I want to change, it's not that difficult. These lenses, like I said before, do hold their value and they are easy to sell, and sometimes they even go up in value. And the final reason I love this lens, yeah, this is a quick review, because there's really not a lot of things to talk about in this lens. It just does its job well. The most important part of this lens is the quality of images that I get with it. This lens is sharp edge to edge. It is fantastic in low light. I don't look at technical reviews online, those like comparison charts like that. I just know it works really well for me. It works well in the field for me, and I can use this for everything. And the way that it makes me move as a photographer makes me get a variety of images, but the style still stays consistent for my overall photo story. That's really it for me. That's why this is my favorite lens. It really just comes down to those few things. I love the build quality of it, the fact that it's metal. I love the size of it, how small it is. I even love the way that it manually focuses, the mechanical part of it. I love the way it feels in your hands. Being a 1.4 aperture allows me to shoot in almost any situation, almost any low light situation that I need to. I just love the look of a 1.4mm lens. I love the pop you get from it. I love the color rendition you get from it. Just the overall quality of this lens, not just the build, but the quality of images that I get out of it. It's just fantastic. I mean, like, honestly, I love everything about this lens. I've been using it for a year solid, and for me, like, a year is a lot. Like, I've been using it quite a bit for a year. So it's just a couple of my favorite images that I've taken in the past year using this lens, using this 35mm. It's just been such a pure joy to hold in my hand, aesthetically, mechanically, and then just overall quality from what I get out of it. So that's the reason why the 35mm focal length is my favorite focal length, and that's the reason why the Leica 35 SUMMILUX 1.4 aspherical lens is my favorite lens, my favorite 35, but really my favorite lens of all time. So last look, check her out. She's a beauty. Ooh, isn't she beautiful? She's so sexy. Okay. I'm gonna go out and shoot. Thank you guys. If you have any questions, ask me in the comment section, guys, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Take it easy, guys. Bye.